This week here at Hopewell Heights, we are going to do a quick sourdough baking project and then a little home decor project, something that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
'Tis the holiday party season, and I usually try to be very prepared when I know we have something going on and I'm supposed to be bringing food or I'm hosting. Actually, we just hosted a party last night, a Thanksgiving party, and today we have somewhere to go as well. And I got a last minute request for dinner rolls. So it is, let me see if I can show you the time here. It's 12:25 and we have to leave here at 1. I don't have time to make dinner rolls. I definitely don't have time to make sourdough rolls and let them long ferment, but I don't even have time for yeast rolls, even instant yeast. It would take at least an hour, a minimum of an hour, but I do have time for biscuits. So my biscuits take about 30 minutes. I'm just going to do a variation of my basic biscuit recipe and make like cheddar bay biscuits, you know, like the Red Lobster biscuits. I'm gonna go for that and add in some herbs and some garlic butter and then drizzle more garlic butter over top, and I should be able to pull this together in about 30 minutes. I've got 35 minutes before we have to leave, so let's see what we can get done. I'll link my biscuit recipe in the description of the video for you guys and the changes that I'm making to adapt them and spice them up.
Today we are going to be working with organic white flour because that is what I had up here in the kitchen. I had a limited amount of time and I realized that my glass bins where I keep whole grains up here in the kitchen, they were empty. I just didn't feel like running downstairs and filling them up. And I had white flour under my sink. So I grabbed my big flour bucket, grabbed my sourdough starter that you see there, and we're going to get going here. So the starter, as you can see, very active and bubbly, that was fed last with freshly milled flour, and it does so well in a sourdough starter. As I've told you guys several times, I've been experimenting a lot with, freshly milled flour and sourdough, and it's been, maybe 4 or 5 months, and it is just amazing what a difference this makes health-wise. I had just gotten so used to being kind of chronically bloated, especially after eating bread or pasta or just something grain heavy, especially something, wheat heavy. But I can eat the same things that used to cause me to be really bloated and uncomfortable just with freshly milled flour and not experience any of those symptoms. All right, so this time of year, we do not have hardly any eggs coming in, which is always frustrating because we have so many chickens, but that's just the way it is. Even when I do use supplemental light in the coop, it still just doesn't make that much of a difference for my hens. We usually let them free range. By the way, there's a closer look at the starter that I've been feeding this with 100% like freshly milled flour, so you can see how active and bubbly that is. But anyway, 3/4 of the year, our chickens are totally free ranged. We don't even feed them. They feed themselves. They forage, and that's the best. That is ideal. That's where you get like super bright orange yellow yolks. And actually that's what I'm adding into this biscuit dough right now. These are freeze dried eggs. And you can see like the vibrant color. But in the winter months, we do coop them up and we add a light and a heat lamp to the coop and we do feed them. But like I said, it still just doesn't make that much of a difference. We don't get nearly as much eggs as we do during the warmer months. So yeah, I'm using my freeze-dried egg stash now, and those work great, especially for baking. You can reconstitute freeze-dried eggs and make scrambled eggs, and it's pretty close to the real thing, like fresh, scrambled eggs from fresh eggs, but they work really, really well in baking. So you see here, I got a nice, pretty, almost like yellowish biscuit dough that looks like it was made. It looks like springtime dough. And that might sound silly. Like, what's springtime dough if you don't live on a homestead? But if you do live on a homestead and you have cows and you have chickens, you know what I'm saying, because like in the springtime, everything's just more yellow and rich. If you have a cow and they're eating that fresh grass, they're producing a lot more cream and your butter is even yellower and richer than normal. So yeah, I'm calling these like springtime biscuits because I used really good Azure standard butter, and I used my eggs that I had freeze dried in the springtime, and so the biscuit dough is just looking really good here. Now, I cannot remember if I shared this, but I do have a little bit of an update on the dairy front. So we have not had a cow and milk for quite some time now. I have had two Jersey cows for over 5 years. So I've been milking for over 5 years now. This is nothing new to me. We did, however, recently sell one of our Jerseys. So I still have one Jersey and she is due any day. We bred her to a Normandy bull, so it's going to be a Normandy Jersey cross. Really hoping for a heifer calf, but who knows? I'm sure it'll be a bull calf. That seems to be what we get the most of. So we're down to one cow right now, but that's not going to be the case for long because we are buying a new dairy cow. I'm so excited. This is like my dream cow, and it is a Normandy. So we're going to be transitioning to Normandies. The Jersey that I kept, I might keep her because I really love her and she's great. I love Jerseys. There's nothing wrong with them. I just have been wanting to transition into Normandies for quite some time. I've shared that with you guys. By the way, I'm browning some butter. I was making like a garlic herb butter to drizzle over the biscuits. And I have like 2 minutes before we have to leave and I have to have these biscuits ready. So we'll see if I get this done on time here. Anyway, back to the cow topic. So the reason that I want to transition to Normandies is because they're a true dual purpose homestead cow or like family cow. So they're a lot beefier. They fill out a lot more. So, put more meat in the freezer and they still produce a lot of milk. So still make a great dairy cow. So we did purchase a new cow. I cannot wait to show you guys. She is a bred heifer and we should be getting her in a couple of weeks.
We moved the big cabinet away from the wall here so that I could wallpaper today. And then I sat down to nurse the baby and put him down for his nap, and I fell asleep too for like 3 hours. So it's not happening today, but it's gonna happen. The furniture's moved. We took the return cover off the wall here. My husband sanded everything down where the barn door used to be. You guys know this wall. This is the outside of my office. I've got my wallpaper here from Sandberg. I am very, very excited about this. I've always had a love for vintage wallpaper. In fact, the old farmhouse that used to stand here where this house stands had the most beautiful, beautiful vintage wallpaper. I honestly don't even know how I found Sandberg. Maybe I was scrolling Pinterest. I don't really know what I was doing, but I saw one of their prints. It was actually this one. Look how pretty this is. This is called Mimi Sandstone. I saw this and I just fell in love with it. So then I went on their website and started looking, and they just have such an amazing selection. And not just vintage, but just really classic, timeless wallpapers. So the one that I ended up, I got some samples, and you can get samples from Sandberg. I would definitely recommend doing that if you're not absolutely sure what you're going to go with in your space. But what I really liked, I didn't end up going with this sandstone for this particular space. I'm probably going to save that for another space in the house because I want to wallpaper everything. Well, not everything. I've got, the green kitchen. You guys know, it's right behind me. The green kitchen. I've got blues and greens and solid colors throughout the house, but I do want to pepper in. I think that's just like an old lady saying pepper in. I want to pepper in wallpaper throughout the house in different spaces. So I ended up really liking this Adelaide pattern in different colors. I wasn't sure what color I wanted to go with. They had this Adelaide blush, And then this is like a blue-green. This is Adelaide Blue. I actually ended up going with this one. It's Adelaide Terracotta. The wall that the wallpaper is going on is the outside of the office. So it's really like going to be behind the dining room table and the big cabinet there. There is some like sage green in this pattern. And so I think that's going to go really nicely from going from the green kitchen into the living room, which I do have like some reds and blush tones in the living room, and then I have a lot of natural wood. I think this is going to pull it together really nicely. More up close here. Look how pretty that is. Now you guys probably remember that I had a barn door there, and I've told you all I would not do that again. You know, we put the barn door in the house, well, we built 7 years ago, and I just feel like barn doors were popular then. I don't know if they're still popular or not. And if you like them, great. I can say they're just not great with toddlers and little kids because they pull on them and they slam back against the wall, and there's really no good way to lock them to where they stay actually locked and like enclose a space. And since that is the office through that cutout there, I do like to keep things locked in there. We have a safe in there with important documents, and so we're gonna put a French door there. I've wallpapered before, so I have some supplies. I wasn't sure what I had though. I just went ahead and got a kit from Sandberg, so this makes it easy. They've got all the basics that you need to wallpaper, including, let's see, sponge. There's a roller in here. This non-woven wallpaper from Sandberg, you actually roll or paint the paste onto the wall, not onto the wallpaper. So there are different kinds of wallpaper. There's peel and stick, there's, I don't know all the right terms, but there's the kind where you roll it onto the paper and then you have to fold it up and let it sit. And then there's this kind from Sandberg where you just roll it onto the wall. In my opinion, this is the easiest kind.
The first step when you are wallpapering is to prep your walls. So this is something that would probably be best done the night before you start wallpapering. I just didn't think about it that much. And with lots of babies underfoot, it took me a couple of days to do this whole process. It shouldn't have taken me that long though if I would have planned in advance a little bit. So the first thing I'm doing here is filling in all of the holes, like nail holes in my wall with putty, and then sanding that. You want to let it dry and then sand that down. And I did go ahead and paint over the spots that I filled in and sanded down just to be safe. I really wanted to make sure that the wallpaper adhered evenly to my walls. And, you know, it might have been fine if I wallpapered right over the spots that I, you know, applied the putty and sanded it down, but I didn't want to take a chance. This is really nice quality wallpaper, so I didn't want to have spots where it didn't adhere to the wall. This was my first time using Sandberg wallpaper, and I just was very pleased with the product. Really liked that you had the option to get the supply kit that included the wallpaper paste. This was also the first time that I used a wallpaper where you roll the paste directly onto the wall. I really liked that. The paste was really easy to reconstitute. You just added the container to some warm water and whisk it up. Make sure the water's warm and it dissolves faster, then you won't get clumps. So once my walls were prepped and I had mixed up the adhesive, then we needed to get our starting point, and I had my husband help me here. And actually, the kit came with that little level, and all we had to do was trace a line for where I wanted my very first section of wallpaper to hit, and then I could use that as the guide for all of the following sections. So right now I use the roller to roll the adhesive onto the wall, and then a little paintbrush to get all of the corners. You don't want a ton of adhesive on the wall to where it's dripping or anything like that, but you also don't want to spread it so thin that it's not going to actually work. Just a nice generous coating. And then what I really liked about this method of applying wallpaper is that I could very easily pull the wallpaper away from the wall and readjust it if I needed to as I was working. This first section was a little bit tricky because you can see I'm working on a little piece here that was kind of up against a little notch where the counter sticks out. And yeah, that was tricky to get that lined up. And with peel and stick wallpaper, or the kind of wallpaper that you have to apply the adhesive to the actual wallpaper before you put it on the wall, that can be difficult because if you readjust it too much, then the wallpaper starts to stick together. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this method, and I will be doing this again when I accomplish my goal of wallpapering every square inch of my house. No, I'm just kidding. That's not my goal, but I do love wallpaper. And what I really like about Sandberg is that you truly get that feel of like vintage quality wallpaper because all of their prints are hand drawn. So these are not computer generated prints. These are hand drawn. This is actually art. It is wall art in wallpaper form. And I feel like that's more difficult to find these days. There are many projects that I still want to do in our home, but you know, the nice thing about being in our probably forever home is that I have time. There's no rush. So one example is, I mentioned it earlier, this opening here, the framed in door opening. I want to put a pretty French door there. I would love to find an old door and use that, but I don't know. I might have to have something custom made. I really, really like old things, but my husband does not. He doesn't like old things and he doesn't like working with old things. So that's one of those areas where I just kind of have to give sometimes. So what I'm doing now is a really, really important part of wallpapering. I was using that tool that came in my toolkit to get any air bubbles out and really smooth the wallpaper out and make sure that it was aligned before I moved on to the next section. So as I was moving furniture, I was reminded of how I have not done deep cleaning in a really long time. That was pretty nasty, but most moms can probably relate. Once I actually got going with hanging the wallpaper, then it only took me a day, not even a full day, to get this project done. So it was really timing on my part. If I would have planned a little bit better and done the puttying of the nail holes and sanding and painting like the night before and then just started the next morning, then that would have been great, but my head was kind of all over the place and I just wasn't thinking about it. I didn't plan it very well. So this is something that could be like a one-day project that really can transform your home. And that's something that I really want to do more of, is just put these things on my calendar, on my to-do list, because it does bring me joy to do these things. And then I have it done. And then this is part of our home. It can be really easy, especially when you're in a season of kind of always having a baby or somebody who's nursing or a toddler or just a lot going on, to say, oh, I'll do it someday. But then the years go by and it just doesn't get done. So if you've got a creative idea and room in the budget, just do it. Just hang the wallpaper. You will be glad you did.
I am so pleased with how this project turned out, and I will definitely be using Sandberg wallpaper again. It was really great to work with. I love that the adhesive rolled right on the wall. That way it wasn't a mess. I wasn't getting the wallpaper stuck together. It was easy to adjust and make sure that I got it in line, and it is so high quality. I can't even see the seams. It just looks great. I can't wait to pick out more patterns and pick out more areas of my house to add wallpaper. It just adds so much warmth and character. So if you're looking for an easy project to do to add some character to your home, I would definitely recommend thinking about wallpaper.
And right now is the perfect time to invest in beautiful quality Swedish wallpaper from Sandberg, because all of their hand designed wallpapers are 20% off this week for Black Friday. I will put more details in the description below the video.